see if people trickle in. All right. We're live now. Okay. I'm pretty sure for 15, 16, 17 seconds. All right. And we're back. Welcome to another Modulator Bay, episode 11, I believe. And back again with Haze and Mr. B. We're just doing what everybody loves, and that's a little bit of gear talk, a little bit of show and tell, and talk about studio updates to our home studios and things like that, and the ins and outs and all of what's going on. We have a lot to catch up on, I think.
It's been a while, definitely. A lot to catch up on.
Yeah. So I think it would be good to. Would you like to get to start with an acquisition?
A gear acquisition so far.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard for me because I'm so clogged up with guitar pedals, to be quite honest. But definitely the most recent thing in terms of synthesizers was the Subharmonicon.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm glad that I got it. I haven't even scratched the surface with that thing yet. I literally, like, my first jam was just the first preset patch, the card that they give you. Jumping point or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people out there that it might not be for, but I think all in all, I think it's for more people than anybody will know before trying it.
Well, okay, yeah.
I think it's just great, and not in a way that's completely nerdy or anything. You just have to introduce yourself to it, and just get to know it.
I think it's one of those synthesizers that goes along the line of like drone synthesizers. Ones where you're just sort of like molding the sound as it goes, and it lends itself more to just kind of slow, kind of ambient things. But one thing I really did not realize about this thing is the first thing that my first discovery about it is I fully believe that it is a Berlin school kind of thing in a box. Mm-hmm. It can real easy to do Berlin school type kind of music if you know what. Yeah. You know what that is, of course, but if our audience doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So far, I've wanted to use it kind of by itself, and do almost all of that with it, just in the box in the Subharmonicon, and that's great.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I think I can still. I mean, that's it right there. And I'm controlling with MIDI right now, and to me that's kind of, it's blasphemous almost.
No, it's so hard. I tried to do that. I tried to make a video on, I just try to just use the Subharmonicon as a synth, right? Mm-hmm. With volt per octave going into it, and I had the hardest time, and I did it, but I wasn't that successful, and it was kind of complicated the way I did it, and I think I should have been doing it differently.
Well, then it's just a regular synth then, right? What's the point?
yeah, but it should have been easier for me than, like the people I saw in the videos do it. But anyway, but so instead, I ended up making a patch that involved the sequencer going, and both of the sequencers, and I haven't posted that yet, but it's great.
I can't wait to hear it.
So, yeah, and so wait, I did post it. No, that was the perfect Subharmonicon patch.
Okay,
see, that's the thing is, during that one, before that, I was trying to play it as a synth, and I kind of failed at that. So that's what that was. And then I found that because I was sitting down at the Subharmonicon, and you can just end up going to the perfect thing.
It's
anytime.
Pretty cool. Like, I was very excited because I'm able to connect MIDI to it via just one TRS 1/8" jack cable connector. Like no 5-pin DIN needed whatsoever. And then I realized, wait a second, this is pointless though. So I'm going to use it. I mean, in other words, it's better off as a main clock, not a main sequencer per se, but a main clock, like a source of a clock of its own.
Yeah, I used it. I used it like that and put it into my other clock that divided and multiplied. Yeah, that works because I think maybe because it doesn't work as a follower as well as it does a master. Because with that knob,
Yes.
with the tempo knob the way it is. I learned that about the DFAM back in the day too. When I got the DFAM, was that it's nice for that tempo knob to be able to. It can actually drive anything, but then if you try to have the DFAM follow something in tempo, I wasn't as successful with it. So I think it's really, and I like to use that knob,
Yeah.
the tempo knob like that.
I can see that already. Like when I was using the Electro Harmonics Clockwork. I don't know if you saw that jam or not. Like it's just the clock divider, the 4-channel
Yeah,
clock divider.
yeah, and
That
that's
thing
cool.
is tricky. I mean, I was getting in like before when I was practicing, I was getting into like a lot of trouble. So you have to kind of realize, okay, I can do this, I can do this. I got to be real careful if I want to try that. However, so I
Right.
kind of see the Subharmonicon as a sequencer in the same kind of way. It's very easy to get into areas where, because it is a true polyrhythmic type kind of synthesizer, a lot of polyrhythms can be very jarring, especially in techno music.
Hey, Inky.
Um,
Inky in the
so
house.
hello.
Nice to see you.
So,
but yeah,
I was going to say I'm
I-
looking forward to seeing like what kind of trouble I can get in with that synthesizer. Definitely.
yeah, and that's a long termer. I mean, it's just I just
Right.
feel like it's a no regrets sort of thing. Something that like nobody else, like the general public will never quite know the value of it. Even after seeing something like the Reverb and Sweetwater videos, and things like that, where they are really, they're really going into trying to like go into the philosophy of it. I think there was this one video, I forgot what it was, but like Heinbach, maybe Starsky Carr, I could be wrong, but Heinbach was in it and other people, and all talking about the philosophy of subharmonies and talking about like trying to educate people on the harmonic.
On just intonation and equal temperament.
Oh, and that too, yeah, because
Yeah,
not
I
many
can
things go to
explain that
go to
real
that
easily.
territory either, and I think that's really cool. But I think it's for everybody too, and I think people can watch something like that and not realize it's for everybody, that it's for more people than you'd think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a bit. It's interesting that it does it. All of our analog synthesizers with an oscillator that just does like a pitch sweep, they're capable of doing just intonation.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm afraid of it. I don't want to go into that
It's
territory because I'm afraid of it.
it's for singers, saxophone players, maybe trumpets. It's for instruments that bend, right? So like our instruments bend, but we don't have to. I mean, it's for people who have a seriously critical ear, because basically, like just to give you an example, like if you have any given key and all the scales in that key, like with equal temperament, you just need 12 notes, right? Just the 12 chromatic scales for all of them. But with just intonation, you need like 30 different pitches, because an A sharp is not the same A sharp on the way up as it is going down. It's just subtly sharper, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it might be flatter. Might get that wrong. I think it's a little sharper.
Well, yeah. I struggle with how to use that. Yeah.
You don't. I mean, I don't know why they put it in there. Is what I'm saying. It's kind of like it's kind of snooty almost.
It's
I'm
it's
sure
a
I'm sure somebody has a use for it though.
oh
There has
yeah,
to be.
but you know what else has it, and I think we've mentioned this before on the show and maybe talked a little bit about it, but the SMS, the modular company, they do modules. No, I mean 4MS.
4MS. Okay.
4MS.
That,
Um,
somebody I
and
had no idea.
they do the spherical wave table navigator,
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
which is
Spherical
SWN.
Wavetable Navigator.
Yeah. Also, the STS. I think, which is the stereo. No, SM. No, that's why I said SMS, because they do a stereo multi-tap delay module too, like a double multi-tap delay module, and which is really great. But my favorite, and this is on the subject we're talking about, is the only one I would ever get, and they even put it in a black. They even have a black faceplate for it. Is the the SMR, which is the spectral multiband resonator, and it's a resonate. It's a multiband resonator. So it's basically it has a different harmony on each one. Pretty much the lower harmonies going up to the higher harmonies, and you have sliders for each to turn them up and down. But then there's this circle of lights of little LEDs in the middle of the. They have it for their wavetable oscillator too, a circle of lights, but it's for basically it generates its own notes by spreading out the notes. Either all of the lights are in one little area of the circle, like in a quarter region, all squished together, and that's within a scale, which is the circle is whatever scale you choose.
Okay.
Or they get separated. They spread out more, like Euclidean almost.
Mm-hmm.
But they spread out more and more because you have a spread knob to spread them. And then you have a knob to move them left or rotate them left or rotate them right in the circle.
That's going to make for what I like to call, you ready for this?
Uh-huh.
Interesting differential sonics.
Yeah.
I just invented that, I think. I just made that up at any rate. But what I
Yeah,
mean is
so
it's
that-
like, you have like one tone and then you morph to another tone.
Uh-huh.
That's what I mean by that.
That's a perfect way to say it. I
Okay,
think.
cool. That's what, then I'm understanding you correctly then. Awesome.
Yeah, well, I can understand. Yeah, yeah,
That sounds like a
and the
great
thing
module.
Yeah, and the thing is that you can choose the scale within it. That's one of the little things where it has basically a little bit of a menu. You choose a scale, and you can there's the regular ones, and there's the just intonation ones. And they have all the just intonation ones, just like the Subharmonicon. So that's the other module I know of that's like the Subharmonicon, and just exactly that way. It has like their list of all the little scales you can choose. That are either even temperament or just intonation. And they have other ones, too, after that, a few others. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very cool.
The one synthesizer that just immediately came to mind when I first, started using the Subharmonicon was, let me switch to it if I can, the Delta Sepe.
Mm.
And you may be wondering why. Because it has the swarm oscillator. It's capable of having like 8 notes, and then you can spread it out into a chord.
Yeah.
And then it also has a quantizer, though. So you can apply the LFO to the volt per octave and have it sweep the octave, the pitch up and down, but in a quantized way.
So it can sort of sequence itself that way in a sort of like a...
Oh, yeah. The Delta Sepe has its own internal sequencer in a weird...
great.
It's very bizarre. It's hard to use. It's very advanced.
But I mean, even polyphonically, basically. I mean,
yes.
It sounds polyphonic anyway.
Oh, yeah. It does some pretty good transcords. Again, that's another synthesizer I'm still scratching the surface on. They're my favorite company in the world, Perfect Circuit. Their demonstration of it is just almost, I hate to say it, it's almost kind of horrid. It's cool. If you understand what the person's trying to do, it's like, okay, this is really cool, but the overall sound that they're like, it's a synthesizer that's capable of doing 1,000 and million different sounds, right?
Right. I get how a
one
store
sound
is going to do that.
The one sound that they pick, and it's kind of disjarring and not very pleasant. It's interesting, but... And,
for one, they just picked up the synthesizer. It's a store. And two, they have to show off like the one thing, and then the rest of it is just...
Sorry. I don't know why they haven't, this was like a NAMM demonstration that they did. Like, they have some of those that they do, and then other ones where, like, they get, like, basic. And it's like, always get basic to demonstrate your products, please, because he's just amazing.
Yeah, he's one of those that's a seasoned doing live shows and stuff like that sort of
and
guy.
He may be the one at the NAMM show doing it. I can't really tell in this particular case, but at any rate, it's just like rush in, rush out. That's kind of a bummer. But I wish that they would go back and reintroduce it. Of course, Jorg himself has all of these great demonstrations of his synthesizer. I think it's 2 people made the Delta Sep, Jorg and another person who is more responsible for like the hardcore electronics and digital signal processing. But it's my favorite synthesizer, to tell you the truth. It really is. It still is, and probably will remain forever.
That's great when you can get something from a smaller company like that might not be around for available for very long. Kind of like the modules I got. I kind of feel fortunate about
Speak,
finding a smaller manufacturer like that.
Speaking of which, I mean, I don't like to get into a whole lot of speculation, to tell you the truth, but how do you feel about this potential shortage that we're looking at, which
Uh,
seems
how
to
do I
be just
feel
like,
about it?
an integrated circuit shortage?
It's
Yeah.
potentially extremely but it's affected me a lot already since December, potentially, if that's really
Wow.
the cause, because I pre-ordered the SQ64 back in December from Korg, and that was supposed to be like the last piece in the puzzle for my studio. And so I've been kind of like, all right, doing things since then, but feeling kind of weird about my whole situation because it's like, oh man, I was supposed to just get it,
Well,
you
that's a
know?
bummer.
And
Yeah.
and when it comes to sequencing, it's like, that's a functional thing.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the way that I can not just do one little project anymore, but just have it sit there for good and play everything.
Yeah,
But
totally.
anyway,
I'm pretty excited about that sequencer. I mean, I'm not going to be getting it, of course, because I already made my choices, and it's too late for that. But I'm very
it's
interested to
actually,
see,
yeah,
what
it's
it's going to
good.
do.
It's good, I think, but I mean, because it has some newer functions that people like now, like like probabilities and stochastic and stuff like that. But you might still like a Beatstep Pro, depending on the UI, or you might still like a Keystep Pro. You
I'm
know what I
definitely a
mean?
Beatstep Pro fan by
Yeah.
far, and I don't use mine, of course, because I mean, its biggest limitation was that it's only 3 channels.
Uh huh.
It's like, okay, now what? I mean, I really thought about getting a second one, and maybe I should have. I mean, well, that was 2 years ago when I thought about getting a second one. I don't want to go into that story. That's too much of an aside. But
Uh huh.
the
But
Beatstep
I don't know.
Pro.
Yeah.
Did you ever use one?
Use a what? Beatstep
Be,
Pro?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Totally. And I love that. And that was the thing is I especially loved the whole like using a knob sequencer to get the notes that way.
Yeah, I didn't do that very much, but it is so trivial to just pick a scale and just randomly select them and then just kind of pick the notes and then adjust,
Yeah.
kind of fix a few things. And then
Yeah.
you're like, okay, great. Instant jam. The slide strip.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't know if the Pyramid is capable of doing that. I don't think it is. I've been wondering if there's a way for me to get the Beatstep Pro to drive the Pyramid, just to have that strip that it uses. I think the EMX1 has the same kind of thing with its finger strip. I'm not sure. I'm the ribbon strip, yeah. And just being able to repeat phrases, like with the Beatstep Pro, you could use it on the drums to either just like throw like a snare drum fill at something, or like you could hold down a couple different pads for the different drums and then like do a fill that way between all of the pads that you're holding down. Or if you had it like globally, you could have all of the tracks stuttering. Not quite like the Roland does it with their TR8 or with the MX1, but it's just sort of like this repeat feature where it more like the Korg Mini Chaos Pad, how it does like its repeatability.
Yeah. The new SQ64 has this thing where it's fills.
Mm-hmm.
You can do fills on steps but you can also for drums and stuff, but you can also do it globally.
Okay,
So then
that's
just
gonna be cool.
everything goes,
Yeah, that's going to be
That's
cool.
great.
I hope it's in such in the sense where like you have to practice it in a way, because a lot of times what ends up happening is you have to follow along with the beat. If you just come back anywhere with it,
Mhm.
you won't be right on the beat sometimes with that stuff. It can be a train wreck, in other words.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Which
But I was
makes it
gonna
more
say that,
exciting.
yeah. But that might be the thing. Is the reason why I don't have the SQ64 yet? It might be due. Somebody said it was about chips. Basically, because of chip shortages, it's not even gonna happen this year. But that's just one person said that, and
Okay,
everyone
okay.
else is just like the stores are just not saying anything and apologizing. My store is
Wow.
apologizing over and over, and I even and so then this other guy said, my Sweetwater last month he said my Sweetwater guy said May, and then but then at the same time somebody said, oh well, it's a chip shortage, they're not even going to happen. And so it's like, so then I call my store a couple days ago right? And he says, he says Korg said it was supposed to come yet, so it was supposed to ship yesterday. But then now today I get another apology about the back order, and then it's not going to be here yet.
Okay, well, what I would recommend is, can you get your money back?
Well, I don't have. No, I haven't actually. I have the money set aside.
Oh,
but
okay.
They don't charge you until it ships.
What?
So it's just a matter of do I stick with it or not? And yeah, I'm totally going to stick with it as long as it takes. I want to be the one to get it, even especially if there's not going to be that many of them.
Did you pay less than $300 in tax for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I haven't paid anything yet.
Well, because on Reverb right now you can get them for $300. I don't know if that's a ripoff or not.
No, it's not actually real. They don't have them either.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Everyone's just saying we got them because everyone's just nuts right now. And there's a couple guys saying they've had them and sold them, but that's because they got them from Korg, or stores got them from Korg and they got that model, and those are circulating around. But there's like literally just a few of those because they sent all these out for beta testing because it was having so many issues, and and everybody who beta tested it has realized it still has a lot of issues, even Sonic State and stuff. So.
What a bummer, man.
So there could be a lot of reasons why I don't have it yet. So chip shortage, I'm not ready to say it's due to the chip shortage yet. So the answer is I don't really know much yet whether that's affected, who that's affected in the synthesizer world or not yet.
The only company I know of for sure that it will be affecting is Isla Instruments with the S2400.
Okay.
And what Brad said is that, like, after this, he's got like a batch of 500 left to sell, and I don't know at this point how many of that 500 is left available to buy. But he said after that batch, he's not making any more until he knows that this particular chip that is necessary is going to be manufactured and it's going to be readily available to purchase.
Yeah.
So he's like, kind of like, and that's one of the reasons why, down here at the bottom of my list to not to sell it. That was one of the reasons why I chose not to sell it. Was then I realized, okay, he's not going to be making any more after this batch. So
yeah,
hang on to this one.
Most definitely. And I think even without that extra information, it's already one of those things that you don't. I mean, that whoever has it in a few years is going to be, it's going to be valuable.
We shall see. And I mean, I'm still very hopeful. That's not the word I'm looking for, but so I'm going to choose that. All this retro vintage gear is not going to lose its value because of all these clones and new versions that are coming out.
Right. Definitely not. If anything, people love and covet them more. Like if there's a sea of cheap stuff, a market of cheap stuff going on, then more people are paying attention to the market in general, and then therefore there's more. The percentage of those people are going to go, well, I want the good stuff.
Yeah, I want the cheap stuff. Unless okay, so dirty confession, I am not kidding. I came this close this weekend to purchasing one of two things: either a Syntrax or a Pulsar 23. And I said, I am not ready to cross that Rubicon yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so far, like, I think, the Delta Sepe was about $1,000, and everything I've gotten up to this point has not been more than really $1,000,
Yeah. Maybe, so maybe you need to slow down a little bit with your budget. What?
No way. No. To me, it's not a matter of that. I mean, I could have bought a Moog 1 if I wanted to.
Uh-huh.
I'm not that, but again, so with the S2400, with the Subharmonicon, and with these other two synths that are coming, that's more than I can handle already with all the synthesizers that I still.
I was gonna say,
it's
you have to think of the future, but also, there's only so much you can. I don't have time. See, like the MC 101, I can't sit down with it for some reason. I mean, that's my own issue, but like actually,
because it's very hard to sit down with these things and read the manual for the first time. You're like, okay, I'm ready to do this now, and then you get distracted.
Um, but yeah, well, no, I think you did good with the Subharmonicon so far as purchases like that, and the SP or the S2400.
If I
Um,
may, like, pardon the upside down. I can't have it both ways, unfortunately, with the ATEM meeting right now. Like, I'll either be upside down or my sense will be upside down.
mhm.
But like at the bottom, where you see the crave, the orange, like those
Uh-huh.
two, like just below the orange there. Oh, hey, yeah, cool. Just below the orange is the Subharmonicon and the DFAM. And what
Yeah,
I'm trying to
okay,
go
yeah.
for is like this whole section right here will be just like a semi-modular. So if I just want to go straight, not straight modular, of course,
Mhm.
but just in other words, like not use MIDI necessarily to sequence things and try to just get things going, via their own kind of internal things.
Well, that's
That's
kind
what
of
that
enough
whole
to be
idea is.
semi-modular or to be modular. I mean, with so many quote semi-modular, it doesn't mean they're actually semi-modular. It just means there are normalized things. So it really is. I
No,
mean,
this is
it's a way
true.
to
Yeah.
have modular. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are weird, like weird modules you're not going to have because so many people make weird modules, but hey, you got the subharmonicon and the DFAM. That's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, everything is actually very vanilla. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's very vanilla because all of my weird kind of wacky stuff will be handled at in other areas.
You can get weird enough, is what I was saying.
Oh,
But yeah,
yes. Oh,
yeah.
completely. Completely. Especially if I add like a ring modulator into the mix.
I can
That's
get
kind of a
weird
one-trick
enough with
pony.
just the
But
System 1. When all I
yeah.
had was a System 1, it went into, I was just like ambient weird space for so long. That's because of the effects, but. And so, yeah,
Okay,
I
quick
call that
aside.
part of it.
Sorry, I just thought of this, and I hate to do this, but I'll make this really quickly. I was sitting outside earlier this morning. It was nice and chilly, nice spring morning, and all the birds were out there just going nuts. These
Uh-huh.
morning birds. And I thought to myself, I haven't done this yet. I need to make a jam where my synthesizers, each synthesizer is a bird, and do the panning
Yes.
correctly. And it'd be great. That'd be great for quad sound, to be honest.
Yeah. I thought about that a lot a couple years ago. Yeah, I was really into that. The
That'll
quad.
be Yeah, we should.
Because,
That'd be a really good challenge, is to do a bird jam where it's nothing but
um,
just birds in the trees for
yeah,
like just 3 minutes.
there's even some good modules that are for quad. Um, they're called scanners sometimes,
I know Erica
and
Synth makes a
yeah,
quad system, but I mean, that's for live performance, in my opinion.
yeah,
You
yeah.
want to be a
And you
live
actually, I was gonna
performer.
say you don't need that
You don't need
because
that, and
enough
yeah,
panning and you pretty much got that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, humans only have 2 ears. We don't have 4 ears.
It's pretty
And of course,
satisfying already.
somebody said, okay, well, yeah, but we move around. Okay, fair enough. But you can
Yeah.
do that if you're really, really good. And I'm not that good yet. But who's it, Fireside Theater? Have you ever heard of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great troupe to listen to really hear like how to get like sounds that just move everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
yeah. They do
masters.
that thing with all the background sounds and stuff. And man,
Yeah.
I love that. Way back in the day.
That is
Yeah.
ASMR. Yeah, that's ASMR that I can listen to because it tells a story. That's you know,
Yeah, funny stuff, dude. That was
and
like
there,
the
yeah.
original SNL before that. Yeah. Or the radio version anyway.
So,
Um,
okay, what is this new synth that you're going to be getting?
okay, so yeah, today I'll be getting see that's why this is all actually I don't have the rack ears for it yet. I'll have to I've left a message for Bespoke, but they only have a shop on Facebook. So I'm gonna have to get third party rack ears and that'll be later. But I'm getting a Peak, a Novation Peak. So finally, it's pretty much that means if you don't count the SQ64 not arriving yet, that's the last piece of my studio, and I'm completely done because that's my polysynth, which I've been searching for the last 4 years for a polysynth. I kind of honed in on the Peak a couple years ago. I knew that the Peak was the best, but then some other things came around and I was distracted by gas and even of polysynths for choices like the Hydrasynth and the Argonate, wavetable ones got in my way, and then I've been really looking at the what's that? Not the Poly.
OP6.
The Pro 800.
The Pro 800, yeah.
That
Yes.
Behringer is going to come out with, and that can be a rack mount thing. And so I was saving a space even for like a 3U space, but since I have this much space, then I revisited. I don't know what it was that made me revisit the Peak, but then I was just like, oh wow, I've been stupid. I forgot, or just it's in such a price bracket, the price bracket like we've been talking about. It's basically 1,500.
Yeah. I've seen them for like, used 11, 12, 13, 14, just depends.
Uh-huh.
Like 11,
And
like no box, maybe been banged around.
And you can't even find them used right now anyway.
Really, I haven't been looking so.
But yeah, and so, but the thing is for me,
they're out of production. And first of all,
I think so.
Wow. Okay.
But maybe not. But like they were talking about, I think the price went up at one point because of chips that it takes. And now that they're being
remind me
chip
because there's one more thing I wanted to mention when it comes to chips.
Uh-huh.
I was going to sneak this one in, but please finish. I'll try to remember.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that it's the most simple, straightforward layout. I've got it on my desktop background here, but like it's the 3 oscillator synth, like you'd get with the Model D, right? But it's 8 voice, but it's not like the Model D, which I've been working with in the box and lately, and I just really don't like it because I don't like the not range of sound. And the not range of filter section capabilities of having the envelope do what I want to. For some reason, other people can do it. I can't. But anyway, this is like...
I understand.
This is basically kind of like what I started out with, my System 1 being a 2 oscillator, all the knobs. But it's simple, it's subtractive, but you can do more with it because there's these extra oscillators that are like wavetable oscillator, FM oscillator, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. The Peak is pretty much an 8-voice version of that, of what was already my favorite setup, to have all these, to have the envelopes on sliders. Mm-hmm. Everything is right there. The Peak, when I get it, I'm going to know exactly how to use it. The filter section, the effects section, it's got the chorus, delay, reverb, boom, boom, boom. Yeah.
Nice.
And
I'm looking at a picture of it right now.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, and when it came out, it didn't have so much hype to it. I think maybe because it was more expensive than people were looking at. But I don't know. I just think it's the best ever. And the other reason why is because I'm very familiar already with the mono station. It's exactly like that. The knobs feel exactly like that, the same. I've tried a Peak before, but like so I'm sticking with Novation. That's what that means, because I love them. I love them a lot.
No, that is a company that's been around for a long time. That I've always known about as a musician. So anytime I was never really in a band with really serious keyboard players. Hardly ever, rarely. It was always just like, garage, just guitars and bass. But if we would ever play like shows with other bands and some serious keyboard player, they'd always have a Novation.
Yeah.
Or Nord, but it was, and so, but I mean, that's one of those companies where myself, like, I don't know. It's not that I don't have a need for them, but it's kind of like, they're up here, if you see what I'm saying. And I don't know. I would love to have something like that, but it's just like
it might be kind of like Electron, where it's like a tribe.
It is. It really. I mean, there are certain. Certain brands where it's not that it's the brand, but it's like it's the workflow, it's the price.
The devices go together, kind of. So you kind of gotta look at the whole idea.
Like, well, for one thing, for me, like on the Peak, I wouldn't necessarily need the effects.
Mm-hmm.
The Delta Sepe has effects. And I would say, like, okay, I don't need the effects. But it has a stereo delay on it, which...
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right? And so if the Novation like has like effects that integrate really well with the oscillators and the filters, so to speak.
Yeah, well,
Just the you know,
it has the
you
three
know,
different
simple-
types of chorus that you just press the button for the three different types. But also, the thing about the peak, though, in the end, is the reverb. And if you watch a YouTube video that shows off the reverb of the peak, it's almost like there isn't another synthesizer that sounds like that, but because of the reverb and the clarity and length of there's like nothing else in it. It's just whoosh.
That is exactly what I'm talking about then that's cool. See, so for me, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if a synthesizer is going to have effects, it's like the effects need to be special. In my opinion.
So
You know,
that
and
and the
it's okay.
Hydrasynth, I think, are the polys that have really good effects on board like that.
Gotcha. Well, I can attribute that the Delta Sepe has really good effects, and the other synth that has really great effects on it. In fact, it's what makes the synthesizer is the old Korg EA1. You know, the green box that I have way back there, the digital two-voice,
It's like a groove box.
Yeah, except for it only has two synthesizer voices.
Okay.
You can't do any drums. You don't really. You can't. I mean, you can do bass, but it's almost like it's like having two lead guitar players in the band. That's what that box is. It's weird. It's such a weird box because why do you have two voices? And then like it's something I want to get into as well is a couple of the outputs of some of these synthesizers. So I have got some weird synthesizers when it comes to the outputs. One of them is the EA1. It's okay because it does have one like summed output that you can use, but things just start getting really, really weird with it. For the most part, like I have to use 2 tracks on my mixer to handle it. Now I've got that down to 1, but it's another story. The other one is the AY3, which is the Twisted Electrons. It's the old like 8912 chip that was used. Oh, I forget which old computers used it back in the 80s.
The Sega Genesis.
No, that's the Mega FM.
Okay. But I thought the AY3 did this. Okay.
I'm trying to think. I think it was some of the old Apple products, actually. Like, not the old Apple II stuff, but once, Apple started actually doing sounds. And it, however, was very, if I can pull it up really quickly, I think I might be able to. This thing must have frustrated people that bought it. If I do a full panning with it, isn't that weird? Pardon the delay, I forgot about that I had on there.
Yeah.
You have to... Now if I pulled it into center just then. So what it is it has 2 chips. One chip has 3 oscillators, the other chip has 3 oscillators. One goes to one output, the other goes to the other output. It's up to you to mix them together.
Weird.
Yeah, it's kind of... And there's no on-off switch either. So if the notes get stuck, you've got to unplug it, the power. So that's a hard synthesizer to work with. I mean, it's a very, very hard synthesizer to work. I love it to death, though, because nothing else really sounds like that, I don't think.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about the Poly-N tracker, or have you done trackers or anything?
Yes, definitely. I don't think I would really enjoy that kind of composition, though. Is what I don't know. But, like, that tracking thing, like...
Yeah.
I was around during the day during that stuff, but it went over. Like, I was over here and that stuff went over there. I was on an Apple.
No, it sounds like the
Never had
opposite of fun
Commodores.
because like you, I did some programming back in the day and it just sounds like not as fun for making music. But then with a device like that, it could make it fun.
What I did back in the 90s when I was first learning DAW composition or production was I discovered that, okay, you can really delve into the MIDI. And I was actually able to kind of produce MIDI behind the scenes. So I was able to, like, it's almost like getting into the realm of what's called black MIDI, if you know what that is.
So, yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, well, it's really cool when you actually apply that to your synthesizers carefully. to overload them with MIDI.
And not break them.
So
Yeah.
and well, yeah. I mean,
You won't,
The worst that can happen is you'll get stuck notes. That's
yeah.
all. And there's things, all notes panic or whatever, or just reset the power or whatever. But so that's what I would want to use a polygon sequencer for, like the tracker potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know what its resolution is though. Like how dense can you generate notes? Is what I'm trying to say. What's its limitation? Because I want to go like, I want to slam thousands of notes, in one measure if I can. But that would be the point of it.
Well,
you really can do really cool stuff with that.
Okay, so it's 8 tracks, but what are the limitations of each track?
Yeah. So for me, I'm only interested in just like generating one track of this kind of stuff. And then I would take that and, export the MIDI that was generated, like try to get it to a file somehow or record it. I mean, again, I'm just thinking right now, I haven't used any of this stuff and it probably can't do this because first of all,
well, it was probably 8 channels of mono MIDI, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, most definitely. So
you'd have to be really small, really quick triggers.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think. I mean, there's you could do things like you can actually control CC, so you could control panning. You could have real quick panning. I mean, I've done this before. And, so you get really cool kind of like a rattlesnake kind of thing.
Yeah, I've seen it before. And actually, my daughter has been watching stuff like that and showing me stuff like that on YouTube. It's just the craziest thing. My 6-year-old daughter was like, "What? Why? Why do I learn about it from her?"
That's awesome.
But it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. But I mean, really,
how it goes slower and slower and slower. It starts out really fast.
Yeah.
As a zzz, and then goes. You can hear that it's zigzagging, and then it's up and down the notes.
Yeah, it's really cool. I haven't really even begun to try to. I don't got time for that. You know what I mean? I want to make music that's silly, and that's what I have time for. But to do that kind of Black MIDI kind of stuff, I mean, I can just use a scripting language like Python or Perl or whatever to do that, and it's much more. It's free, and it's a lot more cost. I mean, it's.
That's what you do. Yeah, that's what you do.
It's just more efficient. Yeah. So, but. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. Do you know who Klaus Mono is? Have you ever heard of him? His channel on YouTube?
I don't remember, no.
Klaus Mono. I found him on, through January stuff. And so I must confess, I don't really like glitch kind of music. I'm not a big glitch kind of person. Like all my delay pedals, they're all smooth delay pedals. I don't go for the glitchy delay pedals.
Yeah, me neither, actually.
And so, the polygon sequencer, that kind of stuff, it lends itself to glitch music. The PO33 can lend itself very much to glitch music, very, very much. Any of the pocket operators, really. Klaus Mono is the one person that I listen to who I really, really appreciate his glitch music. And he's got modular, but he hasn't been doing. I think what he's been doing is he's been sampling his modular into the PO33. He's been doing a lot of PO330 jams. Then he got the polygon sequencer, and he's been doing a lot of those jams. So I've been watching his jams with the polygon sequencer, and I mean, it's just it is glitch city. So it's just a lot of, okay, wow, I feel like I'm being shocked.
Yeah,
which is cool.
Yeah, I'm usually not a big fan of glitch or bit crush or anything like that downsamples or whatever like that. Ooh. But actually, as a
bit crusher
part.
I'm sorry to say that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
On a part, I think it's cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I love bit crushers. I just was messing around with the Plankton Electronic Spice, which is the distortion thing, and it's got a bit crusher inside of it. I've been using it with the Crave, which has been kind of weird. I just started messing around with the Pro 1, and it sounds completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, okay. Case in point, before you go to sell something, make sure that you've really exhausted everything you can do with it. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm discovering that I really want to say this really quickly. We've got it so easy compared to guitar players. I think I've discovered what the issue is, what the secret is about, the tone mojo, especially when it comes to guitar players. With synthesizers, if I had a System 1, it would pretty much be just like your System 1. It records the same way. It's a line level out. The impedance matching that is necessary between it and your mixer, it's not going to cause any drastic changes in sound.
Well, yeah, except for
Go ahead.
It especially kind of did for me, and that's why I got my VLA compressor that was always racked up here with the VU meters. That's why I got that, was because my System 1 would, because I was experimental. I was completely experimental with it. So frequency-wise, it would go places, and the filter would go places sometimes.
Okay, so how does this sound to you right now?
Great.
Oops, sorry about that. That's my TR-09.
It doesn't hurt.
It sounds terrible, by the way. It doesn't hurt, but if you hear if you could compare what it was supposed to sound like.
Uh-huh.
Oh no! So what happened is I moved. It was how am I trying to say this? So I had one long cable going to an effects box, and then the output of the effects box was coming here into the mixer essentially.
Uh-huh.
So you see, I've got like a long stretch, and what I did is I moved everything over to here. So now I've got two cables joined together by a barrel.
Yeah, so that's what you mean by impedance.
Yeah, it's suddenly I'm losing all the oomph.
Uh-huh.
It's like the bass, the middle, everything. It's gone. So I keep making changes, and so I'll discover I can do this, but I can't do that. So I will solve this problem, however, because I want these two effects boxes right here next to me. So that way I can actually do drum fills. That's mainly, I got that from Perot the Acid Clown. The trick of using the mini Chaos pads with your drum machine and stutter effects to get free drum fills without having to program them in.
Wow, yeah.
And then I can have I'm right here by the pyramid, so I can change things as I do a drum fill and then hopefully do things and let go. And then boom, I'll be in the next section.
Uh-huh.
Theory.
So I noticed you got the green RD6.
Yes.
Did you already have an RD6 before, or?
Yeah. I bought the yellow smiley face one.
Uh-huh.
Because I also have the yellow smiley face TD3, and I'm just I was going to open it because I figured, hey, they're, I see people use them, whatever, but I'm still not convinced that I want to open them yet. I'm still seeing the way that I'm seeing them sell in Reverb. I'm not convinced I want to open them yet.
Huh.
So, I'll move this up wrong way. Haha.
Why is that?
Because it may become collectible, maybe.
Huh.
And I paid top dollar for those. I'll say I think I paid like about $150 for the TD3 and $180 for the RD6. The RD6s are more expensive than the TD3s, and I think it's because of the individual outs in the back. That's my theory. And I checked this thing. The individual outs, they all work. It's beautiful.
Wow.
The thing about these devices is that they're incredibly hard to use.
Yeah.
They're massively hard to use. Like, you've got to read the manual. You're going to need to write down a cheat sheet and have it next to you to remember all of the button presses you need to do a particular thing.
And you can't just have something playing and hear it back like right when you're doing it. You have to do it and hear it back and do it and hear it back.
Okay, the RD6 is not like that. It's very immediate, actually.
Okay.
I can just. Well, it might help if I turn it up.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a little easier than the 303.
Well, I'm on accent. I'm sorry.
Baseline one.
Here we go. Just to give you an idea.
So that's just as nice as the 808 then for the sequencers.
Oh yeah, and it has built-in distortion. I love that distortion. Sorry.
That's cool.
So, but what makes it hard to use is when you want to configure a MIDI channel, when you want to change it from the clock from internal to external. You've got to hold down this and hold down these two keys and hold this. But what is kind of neat, I guess, if I can demonstrate it maybe, is random. Yeah, it's got a randomizer.
Nice.
So I had an idea. I had an idea because I've been wanting to do a video, and the first video I do on this is not going to be very high quality. I realize that. I want to do like one of these days. I want to do like a really awesome kick-ass video. It's like how to program drums, because I'm a drummer and I've been doing this for 30 years.
Yeah.
I should do a video on this.
Yeah.
So what I thought I could do in the meantime is using this and to say like, okay, I'm gonna like pick random patterns, and now I'm going to fix them. Because in my opinion, like, that's okay. But
yeah.
it's not really, you see what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like, no, okay. This thing does an okay job, though, with the random patterns, which is going to be like a problem for me because I want it to do a horrible job.
Right.
This way, because like I don't want to be like, I don't want to single people out, or anything like that. And all I'm basically going to say is like, less is more. I mean, this is what every musician ever told me as a drummer, Okay, don't do that. Literally, as a drummer, like this is what musicians tell you. Okay, hey, don't do that again.
Well, that's really amazing, actually. You got to do that. You got to do it because that's the best thing ever.
Of people telling you don't do that.
Yeah. But it's a great piece of gear with a function to be able to do that. To just go like, all right, next. Let's see if we can do something with this one.
Yeah. Or at least be able to discuss, okay, like what is not necessarily wrong with this beat, but what's not right about this beat necessarily, or like what is weak about this beat. This particular one that just came up, that's a pretty good fill, right? That's really the random patterns. What they end up doing is they make pretty good fill patterns, I find. But you don't want to use that, I don't want to get into it right now, of course. And I'm just preaching to the choir because you know how to make a good beat. I mean, 4 on the floor and the snare on 2 and 4. And that's all you really need to do for techno music. I mean, and really I think for techno music, like don't even have a backbeat would be like, try to keep away from the backbeat, if anything.
Yeah.
Keep things, just kind of doing this.
I'm kind of into a certain sort of a swingy house, light house vibe, like upbeat house.
Definitely
and
has
so
a backbeat.
It really is. You're right. It's going to be the same. Anybody could learn in a day how to do the house beat and do a house beat and have that, And then, but the thing is, so when it comes to programming patterns into something you're going to keep using. Like say if I wanted to do like long shows or anything like that, it's really just that's the thing about house music is it doesn't need that much of a different beat.
Yeah.
It just so happens to be that it's satisfying a lot of the time, and you don't even have to break from the beat and go without rhythm for a while to even feel okay. Whereas some other things I feel like I need, like psytrance, I definitely need a break. I'm like, oh my God. That's just because it's not my thing so much. But like for what I make, the beats are not going to be hard for me. And it's not going to take my background as a drummer to even do that. But your background as a drummer is going to be able to allow you to take every performance or every song or everything you want to do and tweak it so that it's got character and flavor and its own character and flavor, right?
Yeah. I think that like with house music where it's important, how you want to make each track sound unique. If you're going to do like an album, so to speak, of house tracks, is just like the drums will have a different sound. The beats will be the same, but the bass drum will be different a little bit here. It might not be as boomy as it was in the last track. One track you may be able to get away with more of a boomy. House is like the 909 kind of thing more than the 808 sound, I find. And what I love about everything is that for any of these rules that I state or anyone states, it's kind of like, you should try to break them. That's what music is all about. But the first thing is to kind of understand, like, okay, well, here's what the rule is. Yeah, you can't really break the rule without really first knowing what the rule is. And
I'm all about starting with an 808 a lot of times, and then going to 909, and then
interesting.
That's what I ended up. That's what I ended up feeling like doing because I come from the acoustic world, right? I was a drummer, and then so it just sounds more right for a kick drum to actually ring out, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And so it just seemed like that was the one that was more like a bass drum. But then I guess maybe that probably didn't matter to me soon into making electronic music.
See, I was always okay with stuffing pillows in my bass drum and just,
Oh my God,
thud,
yeah.
thud, thud.
Can't
So
stuff
maybe
enough
that's why I
pillows
love
in
the
there.
909. Yeah, I don't, like with jazz, yeah, you want that nice ring.
Uh-huh.
And maybe the 808 has that jazz spirit. I'm not really sure.
I don't know, but the point is then you move on from it. But I mean, the 909 kick could just sound like a click sometimes, but probably the goal is to not make it just sound like a click in good music.
Yeah, it's got punch is what I love about it. And what I'm trying to figure out a lot with the TR-08 and the TR-09 is they've got these internal compressors which can like really push the sound through the mix. So at some point I really need to get back over here and just like normalize all of my sound levels. And that compression really adds a new pickle, like it adds like a new element to everything. So like, okay, I've tested these out, but now I've got to test it out with the compression without it. So I'm not really looking forward to that kind of stuff. Like, but it's got to be done.
Yeah.
And because like one thing I'm trying to do with my mixes is like I need to get that kick drum to come through and through more.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about, unless you got something you want to say.
Not at the moment.
FPGAs.
Yeah.
Field programmable gate arrays.
That's the peak. Was all like introducing that whole idea, and everyone was just like, "Oh, it's a hyped up thing." They're saying it's millions of times faster than but it doesn't sound any different or whatever.
Well,
but now I know all about. Now we know all about
it. If it sounds like analog, then it was well worth it, probably. I mean, what does it take, for digital to sound like analog? It's digital, right? The peak.
Yeah. No. The thing is, the oscillators are FPGAs.
Okay.
So yeah, they're digital, but at a speed that doesn't would never ever be able to cause aliasing or anything like that.
Until the future. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it
right?
literally is exponential amount of power compared to for DSP for sampling for samples per second than anything that ever before that. But what does that mean? Does that mean anything special? That's the question. But in terms of the peak, it means that you're gonna get the precision every time, no matter what, if you want it.
That sounds good, actually.
And you don't have to detune them manually and spread them manually if you don't want to. In the menu, that you can just add spread and add detune and add dephase and stuff like that. The 8 voice, or I mean, the voices and the oscillators, you can do that too, and it was just all at the same time. And so it doesn't have to sound precise, right?
Here's the thing. I don't know. I'm still trying to do this. Like, take the knowledge that I'm building up now, of the analog circuits here, and then taking like what I've already know about digital and about computation. I didn't really do a lot of digital signal processing in that time, though, and it can't be that really. It's math. It is really all that it is.
Yeah. So FPGAs means that the current doesn't have to travel like it would on a regular circuit. It doesn't. Like it doesn't have to hardly travel at all.
But does that
anymore.
really matter? Does that matter? I don't think it
in
does.
terms of speed, it ended up mattering. Yeah.
If you're dealing, getting off a little bit of the beaten path here, but like what you're talking, because like there's many different uses for FPGAs. What we're talking about right now
exactly.
is really just something that FPGAs talk about. What we're really talking about is just CPU speed itself.
Uh-huh.
How many megahertz, how many gigahertz, how many terahertz can a clock run at?
Yeah, because the FPGA is pretty much like a CPU in that it's just
No.
the array.
No, an FPGA is a sponge.
Yeah, well, it's better than a CPU.
You can mold into a CPU should you choose to. You could also
Yeah.
mold it into analog.
Yeah. Oh, are you still? Oh, shoot. Am I live? I can't
Hello.
quite. Okay, hi.
We're still here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I lost. You froze on me for a second there. I don't know if I froze on you or not, but
So the brilliance of FPGAs is that they're like clay that you can mold into anything you want to. You could turn them into digital circuits, or you could turn them into analog circuits.
yeah, it's not like some big expensive thing that only some people can work with.
Yes, they are actually. Okay, so I was studying a little bit about FPGAs back in the late 90s. Not much, because they were so incredibly cost prohibitive back then. And to design the circuit takes a lot of trained people. To test them takes even more trained people. Not to cough, sorry. I need like something to drink. And so that's the main, the production of them was not cheap, but the design and the actual, the manpower needed to produce these things was expensive.
Well, compared to ICs?
Well, okay, yes, most definitely. Because the procedures for designing and manufacturing ICs were pretty much set in stone. And if you did these things and if anything was wrong, you would catch it early in the QA process. But with FPGAs, it was a whole lot of new unknowns, a whole lot of gotchas. Turns out you can do it this way, but when you it was a lot of so to design it is in theory like the same kind of thing, but even more in theory than traditional ICs. So you said, okay, we can do this, and then when you actually go to try it, no, it don't work at all.
Okay.
For whatever reasons,
well, it just seemed to make.
And so, but see, that was like 20 years ago, though. That was the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And we come a long way, baby, and that's why they've been making like a comeback around these past few years.
But design-wise, it just seems like a very simple thing. It seemed like it's really very efficient, but it seems like it'd be easy to build because it's just a net. Just a net, right?
No.
You put in all the data yourself in places you want to, right?
Go watch EEV blog. Dave Jones from Australia talk about this stuff. He's got all these videos and on it and everything. And I mean, here's the thing. Like for some people, yeah, it's easy to do probably, but they've been doing it for 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
I don't know.
And sure, at this point, because people have already figured out this, and this, to do something that's kind of trivial, it's much easier to do now than it was 20 years ago. So here's what I'm hoping, all right? This silicon shortage that we're looking at, if some of these chips are not going to be able to be made, as long as we can still make filled FPGAs, who cares? Because in FPGA, and as they get cheaper to produce, as they get easier to debug and to figure out, as the tool set gets more rich and robust and allows people to be more efficient in building these things, it's going to be very, very awesome. A lot of it where it's really being used is in video game emulation and computer emulation to get these old school systems, like people who want to be able to play vintage video games authentically, the real way, and getting to the point now to where it's just too cost prohibitive to find these consoles to play them, and they can reproduce all this stuff with FPGAs, and it's just 100% accurate.
Right, and there's a few instances where people are working on modules on.
So the thing that you got to watch out though is that there's a bit of snake oil involved, because people think that they're just these magical devices that are going to do new things that nobody's ever done before. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the public eye. But I think in the modular sector, you got some nerds that are a little bit smarter about it.
Well, I mean, I would think the reason to use it is because you can't get certain circuits doing this, that, and the other thing, and
instead of the whatchamacallit. Teensy or Raspberry Pi or the
microcontrollers or
Axalty.
the mini computers. I want to show you something if I can find it. Okay. You're not going to be able to see what this is, but this little chip right here, that's a 3340
Yeah. Ooh, cool.
oscillator. Okay. So guess what it takes to actually realize this into a circuit?
Well, a lot. If it's anything like the blown up version, you can see on your big versions of the.
No, I mean, okay. Let me. Okay, you didn't. The question didn't come across.
Right.
It's a hard question to ask. So now I've got the chip. Okay, I mean, not what does it take to make the integrated circuit? That's not the question. My question is now, what does it take to build the synthesizer with using this chip? You see, so if I want to now use this to actually build an oscillator that I can use in a module, for example. Do you know how many resistors and capacitors and other things I need to add to the mix to make it work?
I've seen a few on the inside, thanks to Marcus Fuller, like in my System 1 and stuff, how it has the 4 of them, one for each voice. But and I can see how much more goes into it, but it didn't really soak in, so I don't know.
It's like, it's a nightmare. This doesn't save you any time, is what I'm trying to say. It's like with this comes great responsibility, even greater responsibility.
That's what it seems like. I basically learned how an FPGA works. Obviously not how hard it would be to make one or anything like that, But it just seems like it just really is.
It's harder than they make it seem. It's always they always just know it's not.
But it makes everything efficient in a really nice way.
So what I'm getting at though is that what you can do. I wish I had the resource just to point you to right now, but like there's a website out there that shows different classical synthesizers using the 3340. Like here's how a sequential like Pro 1 uses it.
Yeah.
Here's how the SHONA uses it.
Yeah,
and it's
I have seen.
Each schematic is like, oh god, and it's like the resistors are different over here.
Okay.
They use all these over here, and it's just So what this chip is able to do is it's able to be 10 different things at the same time, just depending upon how you configure it. And you configure it with a bunch of different resistors and capacitors, filters and voltage divider networks. It's just it's a nightmare. And with the field gate programmable gate array, you might be able to just do all of that in one chip, is what I'm trying to say. So you see what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, when I'm done, when I finally get this working with all the resistors and capacitors that are necessary, they're all connected together, right? There's really just one input and one output, right? Maybe some kind of voltage control or something. So like 3, that's it. So you could consider like a FPGA chip that just has your input and output for your audio signal and your control. Well, if it's an oscillator, just be like, a control and an output. That's it. So you see what I'm saying? So you can use an FPGA to simplify that whole process. Now I could give it to you, and you could build a synthesizer. You could solder this in, and just a few other things.
Yeah.
That's that's something I think that could be seen in the future, maybe for like kit builders.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is I think it is the future, but even though it's not necessarily that exciting in some ways that you might think it is.
Exactly. Like I think people want to believe that it's going to create all these new sounds. This is going to allow us to get to, and it may. I'm not saying.
Yeah, and when I researched the Peak, that's what I learned about, is that that's not necessarily it. It's just.
Right. Yeah. No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. It's just you know what I mean.
I was going to say what it sounds like. What it sounds like is they're able to get that clock speed. Super fast, faster maybe than anybody else has ever gotten it going.
Yeah, it's just it's just a preventative almost of the things that you used to have to deal with, that sort of thing.
But that's about I got all for this. I mean,
cool. Well,
I'm trying to think of anything else we can wrap up with.
How long have we been going? I've
got a couple. 10 minutes.
I've got a couple things I want to show off, actually. And
awesome, please, yes.
That I'm gonna show them off in a video too, because I think it's just wonderful. And so I'm gonna show you here. just because they didn't need it anymore. Somebody gave me a... Here, I'll just do this. This is the first thing. The Tascam
Oh, nice.
DP006, right? And it goes on it has a screw for a tripod, which is
cool.
perfect for me and the 101 here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
That's
so
cute.
the 101 can bounce tracks unlimited on the 101, but hey, a lot easier in my opinion is bouncing tracks on something like this.
Gotcha.
And it does 16-bit, but hey, I don't know what your opinion is on that, but I think you can
okay.
do a lot.
So all that it matters is that you don't want to clip the signal. If you're saying like as opposed to 24 or 32 floating.
Yeah.
It just
And I've
means
learned
that-
a lot about it too, but yeah.
That's really all it means is that you just want
Yeah.
to be very careful not to clip the signal.
Yeah. So, okay, so it does not 4 tracks, but it does 2 in, but it also has these microphones that everyone will tell you are really good microphones.
Oh,
Condenser mics. They're really good.
interesting.
But I haven't had something to use it. So I just got this, and so I'm like, all right, but I don't have any use for that unless I want to add my voice onto the recording as I'm doing this stereo in from the 101, right? And bouncing my tracks over. So these last 2 tracks are stereo capable. So you've got mono, stereo.
Okay.
But not for going into it, but for playing back.
Okay. Gotcha.
So technically, you can do
makes sense.
all those, the master, and while you're doing the master, you can record 2 in inputs and the microphones. If you wanted to.
That's a
So-
really cool little
Yeah.
4-track recorder.
Yeah, and this is the upgrade to the 4-track one where it just has the 2 stereo for the last 2 instead of
So that's why it's 6.
instead of 4 mono. Yeah. And so, okay, so no use really for these microphones, right? To show it off in a video or whatever. But then my brand new next door neighbors who are really cool had this sale. Had this yard sale, and they just got a pump organ, and so they didn't want this anymore. I got it for $20.
Wow.
It's got the
That's
2 broken
awesome.
keys at the top.
Yeah, I
But-
see it now.
See, it's a Yamaha. Got the
Wow.
Cascade. That's the Cascadia flag for Washington, Oregon, and California.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing. That's awesome. I lived
Yeah,
in
so-
Oregon and California, but not Washington.
Oh no, I mean in Washington, Oregon, Washington, California, or maybe no, I'll have to. Anyway, my
Maybe it's
neighbors are
Idaho.
cool. Not Idaho, that's for sure. But it's true. But
Hey, I
but
like
here,
Idaho.
So
Idaho's kind of scary, actually. I mean, it's just like it's mountains.
and I don't know if you can hear it. To turn it on, it's got some heft, and I don't know. You probably see. My partner talks about how she had one as a kid, and it's really nostalgic to her. The sound, to me, it seems almost like an accordion. Like it's actually air pumping through there. And here, let me.
So my grandmother had one of those, and it was not nice like that. It was black in color. It was like some sort of plastic case. It wasn't wood, and it had a pump, and it was a pump organ just like that. And it had on the left side kind of like the chord bot. This is why I love the chord bot so much. Had all of those little different variations of chords that you could make. And yeah, yep.
And then down here, it's like. And then the pedal is a filter opening.
Oh, okay. That is awesome. Yeah, that sounds a lot like an accordion.
So I am in hog heaven. Even despite the whole thing about getting a peak coming my way and my not having to pay for it at the moment or anything, I got those 2 acquisitions, so I'm just like living a charmed life right now.
Man, I am. Yeah, me too. Like I haven't been really jamming on the rig over here because I just kind of just keep looking at it and all. And I'm gonna have to start devising a system because I mean it's too much. You know, like you walk into it, you know, okay, where do I even start? You know, and I think what I have to do is I just have to like devise a system where I'm going to say like, okay, I'm only going to pick like 3 or 5 synthesizers, and just use those. And that way, because I mean, otherwise, I mean, what do you do? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
The thing that daunts me is that I just feel like, okay, well, this is just going to be just like the last jam that I did. Now, for some people, it doesn't matter, but like to me, if you notice, like I always keep trying to do something different every time. I mean, I may eventually end up revisiting something that I've done before, but I keep trying to move around, and so
Yeah. I totally right there with you on that one.
yeah, like having everything right there is totally prohibitive to that kind of, you know.
Yeah. That's
thought
why
process.
that's why I'm so excited about this thing, because it's kind of like I'm thinking about like, yeah, so I can do a jam with over here with that stuff, or I could have something. I
Right.
could have a little studio over here. I've been wanting to have my circuits as like a Studio B, sort of separate to the side, and you know you can do that.
Yeah, that is a thought.
yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, I've got like 2, like A and B, and I actually want like a C and a D as well. You know.
Uh-huh. I don't know if you watched Heinbach's video, but I think he was just kind of into explaining about the idea of like, hey, have little stations like that.
Little stations.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
sub-studios.
Exactly. And but at the same time, this little substation over here, this one, I'm still connected to all this stuff if I want to be, at the same time, easily, is the thing.
Yeah.
The one thing that's not in here, really, like I still haven't. I've got to actually build the audio cables for this thing, is the S2400, which completely disrupts my workflow. To be quite honest. I mean, it begs to be a main brain sequencer, and I don't want to use it as such. And I don't like the Subharmonicon. I don't want to just use it as a synthesizer via MIDI.
Right.
So
that's the thing about whatever makes your rhythm, isn't it?
So that's what I'm going to use it for. Is this the most recent jam I did, which with the rig, the one with the sample "Burn Baby Burn." Like when I heard it, and I heard like with the TB03, my TT303 was the pattern that I got out of it, and I could hear the drum pattern that I wanted, and it was very much a Crystal Method type kind of drum pattern, with like, you know, like real drums, you know, like in that cymbal hitting really hard.
Yeah,
And
yeah, with some verb on it.
Yeah, it's like I can't do that with my drum machines. This is the only thing that's going to be able to do that. So I will be working towards learning how to sample that thing, which I means like, you know, finding things to sample and then changing them up and like trying to get like those drum sounds.
Yeah.
And then individually sequence them back in. We'll see how it works out. I'm not interested in like having a whole like 4 or 8 bar drum pattern, you know, with that human feel. That's not what I'm going for. I just want those sounds to really cut through and to be like really, really strong when needed.
Yeah, and play them on the SP.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wait, you sample into it, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, I could also like take a sample out of that and then put it into the vocal sample if I wanted to, though. That's what's kind of cool. Not that I would need to do that, but you know, I could do like over here, you know, a side jam with the vocal sample. But it would use drums that I created with the S2400. So it's a production machine too in that sense. That's what I tried to show in the video that I made with it, which, man, that video was so hard to put together, by the way. Like that was the 4th filming of that video.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it was like, I kept stopping and like having technical difficulties and like doing the wrong thing. And, you know, it's not a hard machine to learn, but it's a machine that you have to spend a lot of time with and get comfortable with. Very, very comfortable with. And so I kind of hated that video. So it's, again, it's like it's really hard. I mean, the only way to make these instructional videos is to script them out.
Mm-hmm.
Script them out, do a voiceover, edit them together, And I don't want to spend the time doing that. I just don't want to do that.
Well, maybe with the with the S2400, you got to just say, well, this device right now is going to be for me to mess with on my own, and I'm not going to think about whether I'm going to make a video about it or anything. I'm just going to have fun with it for me.
Well,
and then
I did make the video though.
Yeah, that's cool.
And doggone it, I forgot the point that what I was even trying to say. Why I brought this up at all. I hate when I do that. But there was something about making the video that was a point that I was trying to make. Sorry.
And
that
about sampling?
Yes. But whatever it was, I don't. Whatever. We'll move on.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Moving on. Do I hear a knock at the door yet? No. Dang it.
You're still waiting. So the peak is showing up today.
It should be. By the end of the day today is what they said, is what tracking said. So.
Okay, so so 2 synthesizers I'm getting. I didn't say this on the video yet, did I? The Mega FM. I'm getting a Mega FM.
Nice. I love it so much, and I totally want one, but it's just like, what? Another thing. It would be another thing.
Okay, so before I say the next one, this is why I talked about the AY3 so much. Because the same kind of things are going to be that, the same kind of quirks are going to show up. They're going to be in the Mega FM2, I guarantee it. So I know like people who get they're like, oh, this is not really what I expected. These are raw synthesizers.
Yeah.
That Twisted Electrons puts out, because I mean, these are the chips. I mean, like he's actually using these old chips, and it's not the same thing as like Korg making the OP6 or Electron making the Digatone.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah. And you can't make it not sound. You can't make it sound not that. Yeah.
You can't. Okay, yeah.
I mean, you can, but
because you're using these old chips, you can't get past these limitations that they have. Mm-hmm. When you put everything into DSP, I mean, it's the same. I mean, because it's all digital anyways. I mean, First of all, FM doesn't have to be digital. What makes FM synthesis what it is, what we're talking about, is the algorithm-based digital FM synthesis, and that is every bit can be done by a fast computer, better than these chips, better than the original chips. You're not going to have all of the complications that arise. So when you get these synthesizers like the AY3 or the Mega FM, you should be wanting to embrace the wild side.
It's a better pocket operator.
Oh my, yeah.
Not really, because pocket operators are weird in of themselves with their drum tracks and stuff. But no, I mean, it is the best way to do FM, I think. Because
it's going to be it's only 4 operator based. It's not 6 operator based. So that makes me cry a little bit, just a little bit, not much. Yeah, just a little bit. Because I'm not.
I love 4 operator ones. Sure, I don't know what I would do with 2 more.
Well, in this particular case, I don't think it's going to matter, because it's not like I'm going to be able to take old Yamaha DX7 patches and load them into it. I don't think. And okay, so there are the DXs that the Yamahas that were 4 operator based too. Maybe theoretically I could take those patches and load them into the Mega FM.
No, they're not going to have the same parameters.
It's not what you buy it for anyways, right? You see what I'm saying? So it's probably better that it's 4 operator based as opposed to 6 operator based.
Well, it totally has to be, because that's what you're going for. That's what you want. You want the video game from back in the day.
And that's the Sega.
You want the Sega.
Well, that's it. That's the other thing, is that it's the chip that the Sega's used.
They even make the name Mega FM in the font of Sega.
I just noticed that yesterday for the first time. It finally hit me. I was like, oh.
Yeah, so you gotta want it, and you do want it, and I like that too. But that's why I got the Pocket or the arcade PO28. But
speaking of which, I hate to say it, but you're gonna want this. You're gonna want this, the Mega Man.
Yes.
I got this for $50 on Reverb.
Nice.
$55 after tax total. The tab's broken off. No
Well,
original.
you break off the tab anyway. I break off the tab.
Do you really? Okay, I don't break
Yeah.
mine off because I'm able to hang them over here on the rack. Oh, you're not seeing me. I'm able
I
to hang them over here on the rack.
Oh, but I get the case and then hang that around my
Yeah,
neck.
so I'll probably get a case for this one. But dude,
Yeah.
this one you can change the scales,
Uh-huh.
and that's probably why you want to get it. And plus, it's Mega Man. But I don't.
You can
I don't-
change the scales. That's
Yes.
cool.
You can't do that on the robot.
Yeah.
Robot's stuck in A.
But and that's really good for Mega Man 2 because it changes key in
Yes.
some of those songs.
Yes, definitely. So I think that was just one of the limitations that the robot had to
Awesome.
have. Like they gave other things, and also this one has 2 voices as opposed to 1.
Uh-huh.
So like you can actually have a bass line going at the same time. I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you can't do that on the robot.
Yeah, the robot you have a rhythm section as well you can do.
You have the rhythm and then like one voice.
and
This
one
one
voice,
you have a
yeah.
rhythm and 2 voices,
Mm-hmm.
and you can change
Cool.
the scale.
Cool.
Other than that, it's exactly the same thing. It is a robot, but if you love jamming and if you don't have a robot, then don't get a robot. Get a Mega Man, unless you don't want to pay the extra $30.
Yeah,
for
I
whatever
believe
reason.
you. Even though get a robot, but yeah, if you can find a Mega Man, sure, I believe you. Because yeah,
I'm not.
I was
and I'm
into
not
it.
getting rid of my robot either. I mean, I love using the robot as a lead guitar. If you've
Oh, it's
noticed, like,
so-
that's kind of
Yeah.
right. That's a theme that I'm going for in some of my. Anytime you see like me using these days the robot, I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to like actually perform on it and then use it as like it's like a screaming Jimi Hendrix guitar.
Yeah, it can be so old, raw, vintage sounding. It's great.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't know where. So the Mega FM was a weekend impulse buy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow.
because I said okay, I didn't get a Syntrax, and I didn't get a.
It's
Pulsar
because of
23.
what? Yeah, you
What I
didn't get
didn't
this.
get, exactly. What I did get at Perfect Circuit, because I mean I don't know if you buy a Perfect Circuit or not.
Yeah, I do. Because
Okay,
there's some
I'll-
things there's only, especially modules.
Okay, when they have
And
their
cables.
sales, and they
Yeah.
don't charge sales tax, so you can get a pretty good deal, especially if it's brand new. And like you
Mhm.
can't get it for cheaper a lot of times on some of these specials that they have.
Yeah,
So
when I
decided
buy
to-
from Reverb, sometimes it'll be off through Perfect Circuit if Circuit has that item because they
Oh,
have Perfect Circuit on Reverb. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
would not buy through them. I mean, unless you can go tax free. I don't know if you probably don't pay sales tax. Though.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is then I'll go
Okay.
on their website too, and
Yeah.
they'll have more on there than they put on Reverb too. But yeah,
But what I did get,
Yeah.
actually, I got 2 things at Perfect Circuit this weekend.
hmm
The Pico Systems 3.
yes. Now
And
that's
I'm very excited
amazing.
about that.
Yeah.
That is because it's completely unnormalized,
Uh huh.
and it's got the card thing on the back of it, and I'm
That-
excited about what I can do. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, can I actually solder like more circuits onto one of those cards somehow, and have
Yeah.
it,
You actually could technically.
like it'd be weird.
You
know?
shouldn't,
I mean,
but
power wise would be a consideration, but we'll see how that goes.
but
And,
it's so interesting. Have you seen how it works?
Yeah, I've been watching videos on it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I
it's-
wanted to buy it a year ago, actually. And I bought the Plankton Spice instead.
Mhm.
I was like, last year, I was like, okay, I really want to get the Pico System 3, but I'm going to get the Plankton Spice instead. And I felt like I made a mistake. And I was actually going, no, I'm probably not going to. I was going to sell the Plankton Spice because it's just distortion. And it's pretty expensive, actually. I mean, it's what the Pico System 3 cost. It costs more, actually, than the Pico System 3.
Mhm.
And you think about just in terms of like the bang that I'm getting for my buck, I'm getting a lot more functionality from a Pico System 3 than just a thing that does distortion, even though it's got some cool CV inputs and things they can do with it, and a bit crusher.
Hey, Mike.
But
Coming in a little late,
howdy,
but
howdy.
it's nice to see you here.
so I'm pretty excited about that. Like in terms of like all the semi-modular stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to fit in over there like to what you're looking at just to the right of the Crave.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I should be able to interface, patch in things, everything across. But I decided to order one more thing from Perfect Circuit, and it's going to be a pre-order. I have no idea if it's ever going to show up. I ordered it separately just to make sure that they wouldn't wait anyways.
Right.
The Castle drum.
Oh, cool. Right on.
Because I love my Castle. You can see it right here. What I'm doing right now is I have the soft pop is going into the Delta Sepe, and then I can. Now you're kind of hearing subtly.
Shoot.
Craziness.
I love it already.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're right about that. The delay. It's really clear and nice.
Yeah, it's unlike any of the other delays that I have. And so that is something that I think is pretty important for synthesizers that include their own effects, is that you get like a pristine, clean signal chain. You're not going to introduce any noise or any unwanted coloration of your signal.
Cool. Still learning MPC Live too, huh? Mike says, yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to sample and be able to do a lot with your samples.
That's a much more modern way. Like the S2400 is a throwback by all means. Man, I really wish I could remember what the point that I was going to try to make with that thing.
But it's got the UI. It's got what you want in a drum machine for your hands.
The hands-on kind of form factor about it. And it's, I don't know, we'll see. It's going to be very interesting, some of the new feature changes that are going to be rolled out. Like Brad is actually talking about, through the USB interface, being able to sample YouTube videos directly. That's kind of cool. Think about that for a second.
Yeah. Over Bluetooth? What?
Through USB.
Through USB, yeah. Okay.
So USB to your computer and audio, like Electron Overbridge.
Yeah.
And you go to your website and just like whatever, and just sample anything right into it.
Yeah, that's what I like to do with my RC, just because it has a nice little 3.5 millimeter jack for my phone, and I do it with my phone.
Okay. I like to dirty the signal up though when I'm sampling into this thing. I don't know. I just think it makes it more unique in that sense. You can because like if you're going to sample something, for me personally, I don't want it to sound like the original, unless I'm paying a homage, and that some kind of a tribute kind of thing.
Interesting.
Did you ever catch the James Bond that I threw into one of my songs? Did anybody ever catch that?
I don't remember.
There was don't go back and find it, but there was like a 30-minute Korg Volca jam that I did, and right there in about like 23 or so minutes into it, I threw in like a verbatim, John Barry soundtrack, just copyright infringement, don't care kind of thing. It's like nobody noticed.
Yeah. I'm still scared of doing stuff like that, but I've got plenty of capabilities of sampling my own whatever's going on in my room or my house or family members or something. I want my daughter to like say interesting things and sample a lot of her just saying things that might be good for house music or something like that.
So
like, this is awesome or something like that.
That's perfect, man. Yeah, I love this. I mean, did you ever have like one of these little Zoom recorders or anything?
Yeah. No, I didn't actually. No, but I had the Zoom Q8 camcorder.
Okay, yeah.
That ended up not being very good quality.
No, yeah. These are
either way.
These are wonderful. These are actually,
and so that's why, like this, I can finally feel good about doing it again with this. Yeah.
Right. I mean, this
means a lot.
Here's what's funny. This actually has onboard effects. I mean, I could actually take a signal in and signal out and use this just for the effects.
Now, see, that makes a huge difference, too. The next one up from this, the 8-track EX, the 006 EX, or 008 EX or something like that, it has an onboard reverb. And this doesn't, but...
You don't need it for that. You can, if you really need it, you can. I mean, you're probably going to want it. So when you play out, you've got 2 mono tracks and 2 stereo tracks going out. So, yeah, you can just add your reverb to whatever you need to there. It's better that way anyways.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Because for one thing, I can say, like, the digital, the DSP effects that are on these things, they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
and they only sound worse as the years go by.
Well, I still don't have a pedal, and I still kind of like the idea of like finding my one pedal and having a nice pedal that's a delay and reverb.
I found your pedal. Well, no, not your reverb pedal. So you were talking about before, you were like saying like, like the peak. How did I not know about this before? Why did I wait so long to get this? How did I not know about this pedal?
I don't know about that.
Holy crap. This is the pedal that I used in my last video, my most recent video.
Is it like a talk box?
Oh, this thing is amazing. It's more than like it is a talk box, yeah. But it is a, hang on a second. What is it called again? I got to get this right. It is a vocal formant filter.
Yeah.
It even has a built-in fuzz.
Nice.
That's kind of hidden, like, through the little shift kind of parameter type kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be so wonderful with the TB303 clones.
Very nice. I love vocal formant. The Platts modules have it on there, and I love to mess with them. It's so fun.
Yeah, I can't think of what your reverb pedal should be. Unfortunately, it probably just needs to be a Strymon Big Sky. You know why I don't really care? Why I don't like the Strymon Big Sky?
Well, yeah.
Because it's just blue.
Yeah.
That's
why. No, I already decided what I'm getting.
Can you tell
and
us?
You're right. The Big Sky would have been it always. For the last 4 years, I've thought, well, that's the best. And if you wanna, and I'm a working man, so I'm not gonna think about prices or anything like that. But actually, the new Fender reflection pool with the delay and reverb.
Okay, cool.
Just the reverb is called Marine Layer reverb.
Marine Layer. Mm-hmm.
And it's nice too, but I would like to have the reflection pool, which is both together.
The delay and the reverb.
And I like that they have the LEDs on the knobs, that there's not too many deep things behind, just the different types of reverb and maybe a parameter per behind the, under the hood that's not on the surface, maybe a button press or so. And so it's not too complicated. It's not too deep.
Yeah, the can't really see it too well back here, but the Ocean's 12, my name's blocking it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty complicated reverb to use, to be quite honest. Here's one more pedal I wanted to point out. Gaz Williams has demonstrated this pedal. He's got a video on it already. It's the Mod Rex.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, this thing is one of those pedals where when I just use it, I've got a long way to go with this thing. I just use like its functions by themselves. It's got like one section that does your vibrato, flanger, chorus, and phaser type kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can only pick one of them though. And then it's weird. It's got the panning and the tremolo, which are the same thing but in two different ways. And then it's got your filter. And the filter you can choose like, it's multi-mode. You got your low pass, high pass, or band pass. And you got a peak resonator as well to control.
Yeah, so it pretty much is a lot in a box.
Now, yes.
A lot of sound design.
Anytime that I just try to like sculpt something myself, I've been failing miserably at it. But when I go through the presets, I'm like, okay, why can't I do that? The presets sound so good. And this is a machine where in some instances, like the presets help you understand what it is that you can do with it.
Yeah, I think they always can.
Yeah. So that's one where, like I was on the fence like, oh geez, why did I buy this thing? Did I really need it? What I like about it is it's great with like things like the pocket operators. You can make a pocket operator suddenly sound like a much bigger, even bigger synthesizer with that pedal.
Right. Mike says the Boss RE20 Space Echo is his favorite pedal. And you know
That's
what?
an awesome one.
It's just so tempting because you can get one. They're accessible for not an arm and a leg. And it's so nice looking, I think.
There's one that I've held back on getting. Who knows? Maybe in the years to come, I'll end up getting it eventually. It's called the Nocturne Mystery Brain, BS301, I think. And it is, first of all, it is not a keyboard for synthesizers. I don't think it really is a keyboard, a pedal for guitar players. It's really the graphic is just awesome. It's just like Train with the skull on it, kind of like with a funny kind of smiley face skull with the conductor's hat. And it's got 3 switches. One of them says Abbey. It's like, okay, what's going on? Really what it's all about is those old Space Echoes and the Echoplexes and the Benrex. They had these really awesome preamps And a lot of times, players back in the day would just use those devices just for the preamps. They wouldn't even add the echo to it. Like not all songs need the echo anyways. You got them in the studio. The preamps are great. They could get some great tones, great color sounding with those preamps. So what the Mystery Brain is it's that preamp with a digital echo circuit. So what I mean by echo instead of delay is that the echo is more of a slapback. The same thing, but you can kind of use echo to more classify your shorter delays. And that way people kind of like more know what you're talking about in the guitar world. So what that is rockabilly.
Okay.
If you think right, you just think of or even surf sound kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really what that kind of, those pedals, I think, there's certain ones where like you find that they really lend themselves great to a certain sound. And you get this, one of the things that I would love to do a video on to help people out with is to really understand what pedals are really for guitars and what pedals can be used for synthesizers, or more effectively for synthesizers.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep yapping, but the one thing I didn't complete my sentence on, unfortunately, when I was yapping earlier, was when I was saying that as synthesizer players, we got it pretty easy because we're dealing with line level outputs. Guitar players have it much more difficult because every guitar player, their pickups are subtly different. They can get custom pickups put in. You change like which pickups, if you got multiple different pickup locations, which ones are getting,
I totally get what you're saying. And I
amplifiers.
thought you were going to say that before, too, about how...
That's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of, when you see guitar players, okay, I see a lot of pedals getting flipped on reverb. I see a lot of different like major ones, and it's like, what's going on here, So you start to see where like, oh, this is the new buzz. This is what everybody wants right now. This particular pedal, like one of them is the 1981, the DRV 1981, and that's a pedal that cost about $300 to $350, and I think they just stopped producing them. So it's this pedal that's sitting here right now. Like, is it going to go this way, the Klon route, or is it just going to kind of whatever? And the reviews right now are kind of mixed, and this is a tough call because what it really means is that when I get a pedal like that as a guitar player, it's either going to meld well with my current rig or it's not. What are you going to... Okay, so the guitar pedal costs $300. Your amp costs $1,000. Your guitar costs $2,000. What's going to get replaced? The pedal. So this is my theory why you see these so many this volume of flipping these pedals, is that like a guitar player would be like, oh, hey, I hear about this pedal. I want to check it out, see what it's all about. They get it in, they dial it in. It just doesn't work for them. This doesn't happen so much with us with keyboards. It happens when, for us, it's when we don't do our homework. See, we have the ability to download the manual, to read the manual, to make sure that the MIDI specification is going to do what we need. If we're advanced on that level enough, or if the module is going to play with the power needs in our rack that we have, those kinds of things.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of normalization. Right.
And there's always going to be, with every synthesizer you buy, there's going to be a little bit of disenchantment at the same time. It's weird. You get a little bit of heartbreak because you're like, oh, well, now I have it and the magic's gone, All the mystery that I had about it, now here it is. It's always smaller or it's bigger than you thought it was. It's the S2400 is a monster. The RD6 is kind of a monster, but this thing weighs lighter than a pocket operator.
The 101, gosh, I don't know why I can't get into it, because it's like I'm in a situation where, like, I don't want to go to the 101 and start messing with it yet, because it's like I feel like I already know how it works. It's just simple enough already, and I know what I'd want to do with it. It's almost like it's not a challenge, but then there's the fact that all the sounds of Roland from all of history are in it. And then I look at it kind of like a DAW, and so I'm like, so I kind of get deer in the headlights about it, not because it seems too hard even, but because of that sort of like, oh, I got it. Now I have to get excited about exactly what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, that can be tough sometimes. I know what you mean. And, I experienced a little bit of that when I got that MC303, I guess. I bought it because it was $90. at that Guitar Center, and I was like, I'm going to
Uh-huh.
rescue this thing. And then I realized, okay, it was able to do 8 tracks of MIDI, which is far more than I was able to do before, but it didn't, like the interface, I couldn't get into it, literally. Now, I don't think the 101 is like the 303. I'm pretty sure the 101's a lot. It's more fun to get into. I'm quite sure.
It's just
Less
yeah, and
frustrating.
which is why I'm a little bit ashamed. I'd say because yeah, it's easy. It is easy and fun, but I'm not
You need to
treating
be
it that way.
You may,
I'm
maybe you
like
need,
I'm like oh I'm just gonna wait for other gear that I'm gonna work with. I'm gonna work with it when I am got all of this stuff. I'm like trying to put it on the back burner until I've got other things. And I'm still, well, it's because I've got all these patterns also on the circuits still, and that I haven't released yet, or that I haven't posted as videos, and
Okay.
I've got that as an excuse to where
Well,
I'll work on those first, and so I haven't got to this yet.
if this can serve as any kind of warning to anybody watching this who's concerned about, getting too lost into this kind of stuff, don't get into DIY on top of this.
Yeah.
Because now I'm like, oh, dude. I mean, like I'm in the middle of painting these pedals right now, and so yeah, that's like content switching constantly,
Or just don't spread yourself thin.
I have definitely spread myself far too thin. I'm not gonna lie, and I think I wanted to though, to tell you the truth. Like I hit this awesome, kind of hit, and I said, okay, now what? So let's do what you're not supposed to do.
Well, and see, that's what I'm saying is you like just like me, you like to do something different every time.
Yeah.
Because it's about that you have a challenge or like something new and interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And to some degree, I realize that I can't reproduce the jams that I'm doing. That's but that's not the reason why that I'm doing something different every time. It's like doing something just because it's like I want to be able to produce. Here's where I'm getting myself into trouble. Because I want to be able to produce as much music and many jams as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's necessarily necessary to do that.
Right. Well, I'm definitely not doing that right now. So shot myself in the foot there. Yeah, and I think, like I said, I think the answer is to just, okay, well, this is the great thing about hardware jams, so I could keep what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to write I'm going to coattail the hardware jam weekenders from the Facebook group. So that's the brilliant thing about that is they have a theme that they do. When you have a theme to do, it makes you produce something, right? Now all of a sudden you've got a goal. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm like, oh yeah, I got some ideas now. Happens every time. Unless it's just what you always do. Like if they pick the genre or the thing that you always do anyways, then maybe okay.
But it's
nice. The only chance that's going to happen is if you win the jam. If you get voted best. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait. I'm going to see what they do. Then I'm going to just follow them and do that. See who notices.
Yeah, I like that. I like that in this world there's also some months that mean certain things, like January and like like February being the album, RPM, album writing.
See, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, RPM is a big thing now, and it's the month of February you write an album or you do an album, within that month. And
so you have to like compose an album, or can you just pick tracks and put them together?
Well,
that seems more reasonable.
Yeah.
An album, to my opinion, just shouldn't be the 10 songs that you made. Right?
It's loose.
It should be okay.
But I think there's a couple things you can do. If I remember right, I didn't do it. I was gonna, but I didn't because I decided to just release singles instead. But anyway, but it was like 35 minutes or 10 tracks is the smaller. That's the goal, maybe, was it?
10 tracks is good. That's a good album number.
Yeah, I think so. But 35 minutes is a lot easier to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a song is a song, really. I mean, if it's a real song, which I don't do. I mean, I don't do verse, chorus, bridge, yada, 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 yada.
I tend to go long.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go long, but it's like just maybe 2 parts, and and they may be 2 verses or 2 choruses that are not. They're not anything. They're just parts. They're not. There's no singing. There's no structure. There's no songwriting.
That's a genre. That's its own genre.
And I want to get to that point at some point. The thing that there's 2 things that I really want to do. One of them is get this book that I've got over here, which is a bunch of songs for saxophone. There's a bunch of rock and pop songs. So I want to stream this. I want to program the chord progressions into the Scorp, and then just learn the melodies, and then just use rehearse that way, I guess.
The saxophone or on a different instrument?
The wind controller.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it would be like a saxophone, but it'd be a virtual saxophone.
Nice.
And it may not be saxophone either. Whatever sound, that, again, the whole purpose is okay, here's Journey, Don't Stop Believing, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's got your basic chord structure and a few loose things, and I'd be adding my own drums, adding my own bass, and then trying to solo over on top of it. That'd be a pretty cool Twitch session, I think. And the other thing would be, because the Scorp Pyramid is amazing. It really is. I mean, I would tell people, this is the sequencer you want to buy, but it's it's like an Electron. You're going to invest. You all right?
Well, yeah.
You're going to invest.
Speaking of Twitch sessions, yeah, Dan Kushner's sessions, he there for a while he was doing I think it might have been 1 day a week or something, was always him and another guy, and the guy was playing saxophone.
Oh, really?
Standing in the room playing saxophone, and then with Dan doing his thing. And it was and they always named it something funny and crude and stuff, and it was fun.
Well, for what it's worth, I am not a sax player in the sense of I learned the fingerings. That's a wind controller. That is not a saxophone. I can't do the tone shaping. I can't play a baritone. I can't play a tenor. Yada yada.
Maybe that's why those things are better than the originals.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm just into it for the fingering. It's just being able to go from from here to here without thinking about what the note is. That's what I'm trying to go for. Trying to learn how to solo.
I'd rather just have a melodica keyboard on it.
That's cool too, man. One of my guitar players had a melodica. We use that in some of our jams.
Mm-hmm.
But the second thing, what was getting about the Scorp Pyramid, is that you can just transfer MIDI files over to this thing. That's what's so great about it. And I've already done that before. It's actually really, really cool. I generated a MIDI file with the Perl program, and then just brought it right over here and just
so not feed it in, but actually just copy it into it.
Copied in, exactly. So I want to go find some classical music and copy it in over here, and then and see what I can do with that.
Cool.
That's a couple of things that I'm really, really wanting to do to kind of expand.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, how you feeling right now? Do you nature's calling for me pretty good?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours, so I think we've hit our fill. I think I've touched everything I wanted to touch on.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Enki and Mike.
Thank you very much. I hope we were not boring.
Yeah, and I'm sorry it didn't show up. The thing I know about YouTube, since I haven't done one of these shows in a while, and I haven't been doing too much on YouTube, it's not going to show people as quickly or as much the next time. But if I get consistent week after week, then you'll see them easier in your notifications. But I think it always tends to be a smaller crowd when I come back after not being around for a while. But I'm glad you guys are always come in and visit. That's great. It's nice to talk to everybody.
And thanks for having me once again.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for having another one of these with me. I don't know. I'm not going to do it regular because I want to. I don't know. I just don't want to commit to anything right now. I'm in this crazy state, and I want to do some videos and work on that. It was tough for me to get this working right because I hadn't gone through the process of getting it working. My new computer can't broadcast right, so I'm broadcasting on this other computer, and it'll work out.
Anytime something changes, it's like technology says oh no, I'm not going to let you work.
Yeah,
it's different. It's different this time.
But I hope you guys are doing well and all that, and I hope you have a good rest of the week, Haze. and stuff.
Likewise.
Have fun with everything. I'm
Oh,
going to have
boy.
lots of fun.
Yep, got some videos coming, that's for sure.
Right on. Right on. All right, I'm going to go potty. Peace out,
I want
everybody.
to have some lunch. Thanks once again. Bye-bye.
All right.